All right, power fishing versus finesse fishing. Let's kind of take a minute, talk about the two styles of fishing, some pros and cons of each, and then I'm going to give you my final verdict on which one I think excels. All right, so power fishing, finesse fishing. They're like two major styles kind of that we put all fishing into, these kind of two different houses, if you will. Quick definitions, like finesse fishing, you're going to be using lighter line, lighter gear, lighter baits, while power fishing is all about covering water, trying to hit as many spots as possible to get all of those active fish. Primarily with power fishing, you're going to use a bait caster. It just excels to that. You're using sometimes bigger baits, while finesse fishing normally is done on a spinning rod. Doesn't have to be, but normally done on a spinning rod because you're using lighter gear, lighter tackle. So some examples of power fishing would be your crankbaits, your chatterbaits, your anything fast moving, top water would also be power fishing. Finesse fishing is going to be your weightless Senko, your Ned rig, your shaky head. All of those would kind of be in your finesse fishing range. So when it comes to both of these baits, when it comes down to covering water, power fishing definitely excels. You are going to be definitely running and gunning, hitting multiple spots, casting this thing in, either burning it through spots or definitely reeling in quicker. A lot of times you're using a faster reel. It's just you're covering water. You can cover water with finesse fishing, but it's going to take a lot longer to get through. Finesse fishing, you're definitely picking apart areas, slowing way down to try to get every fish in that area. And I think that's really important. Like power fishing is to find the most active fish in the area, and finesse fishing is to catch every fish in the area. At least that's how I think about it. So on that note, if you want to go out and just catch as many fish as possible, I think finesse fishing is definitely going to excel there. You're going to use some smaller baits. You're going to use those Ned rigs. Ned rigs catch everything, and you're going to catch a lot of fish. So when you're power fishing, you're only looking for those active fish. So you're going to miss fish in spots. But those are fish that you're going to have to like work for to kind of get them to bite. Power fishing is a lot of like reaction style baits. So you're only looking for those fish that are willing to bite at that time. How about big fish? You guys put down in the comments, which style of fishing do you think gets bigger fish? Power fishing or finesse fishing? For me, they both do. You can definitely catch big fish on a Ned rig, on a weightless Senko. I just popped my PB and that was on a wacky worm. But you're gonna have to weed through a lot of smaller fish first before you get to those bigger ones possibly. When you're thinking about which style to use, whether it be power or finesse, I think your mode of fishing is pretty important to think about. Are you on the bank? Are you in a boat? Are you in a kayak? Crankbait, awesome bait, tried and true, can be kind of a pain, especially those deep diving crankbaits can be kind of a pain in a kayak. That it's gonna move you, unless you're anchored up, as you're reeling that thing in, it is definitely gonna move your boat closer to where that bait was. You're gonna get that momentum that swings you in, and that's definitely something to think about. Again, with that deep diving crankbait, if you're fishing that from the shore, you might not have enough room for that thing to run properly. So it's definitely important to think about your mode of fishing. Definitely if you're in a boat, all presentations are open to you. You can just kind of do what you want. But if you're on the bank or if you're in a kayak, you might want to think about not using some of those super power fishing techniques like crankbaiting. How about time of year? Also very important to think about. There's certain times of year when power fishing is not going to work. The winter, it's not going to work. Those fish, you're not going to be able to consistently get fish just running a chatterbait, just fast burning that thing through, and it's just not going to work. You're going to have to slow down if you want to reasonably catch fish, and you're going to have to downsize a lot of times. So finesse fishing, can excel during the wintertime, but your spring, parts of the fall, those are like power fishing heaven. Bass are looking to eat. They're being ferocious. They want something moving. They want to go after it. And then water clarity. I think water clarity is also really important. That big, loud, color and sound wise crankbait or chatterbait might not do as well in a crystal clear body of water. I'm not saying it won't work. There's plenty of dudes who are way better than me that are killing it on it, but I find that if that water's super clear, I definitely need to think about slowing down and moving to a finesse presentation. But there are some baits that are definitely like hybrid baits. There are baits that can be either fished in a very power fishing way or in a very finesse way. So some of those would be, I mentioned earlier, the swim jig. The swim jig, you're covering water. You're throwing that thing in garbage, in cover. You're putting it in the nasty stuff, right? And you're kind of reeling that thing back. It's a moving bait, but it's kind of like a finesse chatterbait. You guys have heard me talk about it a lot. I love the swim jig because it does that. You can cover water, but you're gonna get more of a finesse presentation. Jigs in general, you can definitely fish them power style, real fast, picking your spots, dropping it in, shake, shake, pull it out. But then you can also slow roll those things on the bottom, just using the reel to move that bait. So it can definitely be finesse or power fishing. Also the jerk bait. Jerk bait's like a quintessential winter bait, right? But you can fish that thing fast all throughout the year. Jerk bait's very versatile bait. That it's a hybrid. It can be one or the other. Just like big swim baits too. Big swim baits. I mean, that's a big bait. You're using big, heavy gear, but it's super realistic, right? I mean, if we're talking those like bull shads and things like that, these are super realistic baits. So while yes, you are using them on big gear, you're fishing them in a very finesse style. Like you're trying to max that hatch so much that your bait looks real. So those are kind of a breakdown of the two styles. And I think personally that you need to have both in your arsenal. I don't think that one is better than the other. I think they both have a time and a place. And I think that if you don't learn both of them, you're really missing out. Like you need that power fishing certain times of the year to get them to bite. They're also like power fishing is normally like your search baits, right? So what I like to do is use a power technique or a hybrid one, right? I favor the swim jig and cast around with that. Figure out where some fish are at. And then once you figure out kind of where they're at, what they're looking at, then you can downsize to a finesse and pick apart that entire area and then move on to the next one. So I think it's really important to have both techniques in your wheelhouse for you to be able to be successful on the water, whether it means catching a big fish or catching a lot of fish, or hopefully a little bit of both. All right, quick one this week. Just cut and dry. Thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week.